Hi everyone, it's Lisa. I am videotaping here at the Paris Bourbon County Library. This is our Monday night Make It craft, and we're going to be working with rag rugs, or something called a Chindi rug. And I'll explain all of that in just a few moments, but let me get to this process, and then we're going to get to our list of materials. This is just a plain pumpkin, a plastic pumpkin. I saw online this pumpkin, and it is also made from rags. And that is one thing that most people, either with old clothing or with actual rags, have a lot of, including scarves and so forth. But I found that I could buy a Chindi rug, and the strips of fabric that are in a rag rug or a Chindi rug, it's amazing. And so I knew there was a craft somewhere, and that matched the image that I had hoped that we could achieve. And so this may not be a craft that everyone likes. You may not like the way the pumpkin turns out. Please reserve the kits for those people that would like to try to do this. I think it's fun. I think it's very different, but we are going to look at the materials for the pumpkin itself, and then we'll look at all the materials to embellish the top. So these are the materials for the Chindi rug, just the basic pumpkin itself at this point. You're going to need a plastic pumpkin. It does not have to be this particular one, but there is a kit available that includes this. It does not have to have a handle. You are going to need scrap fabric in strips or a Chindi rug. The rug that I purchased was 4 foot long and it was $4. So they are relatively inexpensive. Or think of the resources that you have at home, because again, I'm pretty sure you have old clothing, fabric, scarves, things that you could probably use. And then to get this started, the only other thing that you're going to need is a glue gun and lots of glue sticks. Now, to help me out, I have these, and that will help me because I do not want to get burned. So I'm going to be using these on my fingertips. I've got 2, but at this point, there it is. So I've got 2 of these, and we're probably going to put those on those 2 fingers. So I'm going to move these off to the side, and we are going to get started. So the first thing that I did was took a pair of scissors and I cut off my handle because I do not need my handle. And the second thing I need to determine is if I want my strips, and by the way, the strips are typically about twice as long as this. And so I ended up cutting mine in half. You just need a strip that's going to be wide enough here to glue on the inside as well as on the bottom. Now there are 2 ways of attaching these, or I should say the look of these, not necessarily attaching, because we're going to use a hot glue gun. But I can either just a random piece of fabric straight down, or I can wrap this, and that's what I have done. I wrap it, and I'll hot glue at the other end. So let me get started on the inside here. I want to make sure my glue gun is heated up. And all I'm doing is taking the tip of this and just kind of pushing it together. I'm going to push it down into the glue. I'm letting that cool a little bit. And on this one, I twisted this one. I think on this one, we're going to go straight down. I am not going to demonstrate this whole process because it is lengthy. This is not a craft that you're going to do in an hour. This will probably take you longer. Okay, so that's on there. And I'm simply going, as rough as it is, as ragged as the edges are, all I'm going to do is turn the pumpkin over, put some hot glue down, and not drop it, and hold it. Now, as I said, this is not everybody's cup of tea. To me, these mimic the decorative velvet pumpkins that you can find at stores over the holiday that can kind of extend into Thanksgiving as well. And there's your first one. Let's do a couple more. One of my coworkers assisted me in cutting these, and I really appreciate that. A little glue on the inside. Again, I'm going to kind of cluster this together, kind of drop it in there. Please be careful and do not burn yourself. Now, the use is decorative. I'm not sure there is another purpose for this. You may find another purpose, and please feel free to share that on the Facebook page. But in my mind, it was purely for decorative purposes. And right next to that, on the bottom, more glue. So as you can see, patience is a virtue here. It's a slow go, but I think the end result is very cool. You know, this time of the year, we're decorating for the holidays, and we're so traditional with our oranges and our fall colors and pumpkin colors and so forth that we really don't think about the other beautiful colors that are out there. Let's pull a little pretty one here. Let's pull this kind of fuchsia color. Let's put one or two more down, and then I'm going to skip right to how we decorate the top of this, because this is a no-brainer here. You're just going to continue to glue and bring this down. You will also get some of my rug. You're going to get a big handful of these. They are not going to be pre-cut, so you may find that you'll have to cut them to the length of your pumpkin. And then if you should fall short, please note that if you've got anything at home that you intended to shred anyway, or to get rid of, or again, a blanket or a scarf and so forth, then feel free to use your own materials as well. I think this would be really cute with different strips of flannel. I also call this my boho pumpkin because it has a very, I think, a very bohemian flair. It's got multiple colors. It's not your traditional orange. So I've been calling it my boho project here at work. Now I did want to mention, I'm going to put on one more piece. I did want to mention that on the bottom of this, I have cleaned this up with a piece of green felt. And so that's so the bottom doesn't look like this right here. Okay, so there's 3 of them. Now what I'll do here, see, I've already got that one kind of glued in place. I'm going to go back and fill in. Now this one, honestly, I could cut that into probably 2, maybe 3 strips. So when you get your handful of rug, then think about cutting it into smaller strips, because it may be too thick. Okay, that one's going to look really good. I have struggled with how to finish this. I showed it to my coworkers and they said, oh, it needs a gold top. Automatically, it needs a gold top. And I agree, it needs to be something very shiny and bold and something, in my mind, jewel tone colors, etc. But I will show you the way I finished it and the way I came up with finishing it. It is not a perfect idea, but you can go with it. And I think you can make it very creative. Okay, so in your kit so far, you're going to get, or materials that you even need, even if you don't pick up a kit, a pumpkin. You're going to need the strips of fabric. You're going to need hot glue and probably some scissors to get you started. And this will take a deal of time. Once I get to a certain point, I just kind of want to trim that up a little bit. I take some of the excess off there. Okay, now so this is the strips just being glued on. Just in strips, filling in wherever needed. And then this is the twisted. It's obviously going to take more pieces of fabric. Okay, so you're going to finish this. And I'm going to pause for just a moment and move materials off and put our second group of materials on the table. Okay, so I've managed to move some materials off of here and I've left some materials on. I've put my pumpkin to the side and now we're going to deal with the top part. We have a hole at the top of our pumpkin, as you can easily see. Now, there doesn't have to be a top on this. It could go as it is. I'm not sure it's a true representation of a pumpkin yet because of the shape and having no top. So I think it's probably important, it was important to me to make sure that you had an idea of what you would like the top to look like. So here are some additional things that you will get in your kit in order to be able to fix the top of it, to actually make a top. You're going to need a round image, and I have copied that for you. And this was the size I needed for my pumpkin. So if I were you, I would cut this a little bit bigger and test it with your pumpkin. There's obviously a difference in the thickness here than in the thickness of the twisted. And that will make a difference in the top. So cut out maybe a 1/2 inch to 1 inch bigger, and then you can downsize it. And then what you're going to do is take that circle and or to put that on a piece of foam board or cardboard. And I think I have enough cardboard. You'll just find just a hunk of cardboard in your kit that you can use. Remember, those are our first come, first serve. And also, if you know right now that this is not appealing to you, then hold on and get the next kit. And that way someone that might be a little bit more creative than myself can actually make one and see what they can turn that into. Other things that you're going to need to finish off the top of it could be a paper bag. You're going to get one of those in your kit. Moss. You're going to get a little bit of this in your kit. It will either be the brown or the green. Wine corks are an option. I might need more of the Chindi rug. I will need scissors. I may need twine or brightly colored leather strips. I really like these because I think it's representative of that boho look, which is bright colors. And then other things that I have purchased that might look good, here might be where my gold comes in. These are actually clip-on, and if you could find some way, these were at the Dollar Tree, but if you could find some way of including those, that might actually look pretty good on here at the top. And then lastly, I believe that's it. But I did want to point out another use for the rug. I found this cone tree. It had tinsel wrapped around it. And this would be a wonderful way of also making a boho tree. You just keep wrapping. You can do that with foam, cardboard, cardstock, whatever you wanted to, but these do make very unusual Christmas trees. We just keep wrapping around there. And you actually may have some extra fabric left over, or at your home you might want to try this. Okay, so let's look at my versions of the top and how they were made. This is my first version. And what I have done is I've taken my cardboard, and I have taken the rags from the rug, and I've actually twisted those around. And the center of this is a paper bag that has been folded and kind of mushed into this shape. And then in my bag of rags, I found this crushed velvet. And honestly, the crushed velvet was beautiful. I wish we had more of it. Maybe not this color. That may not be your color. But the crushed velvet, to me, worked perfectly with the pumpkin. So I'm going to let you decide. I will put the pumpkin up here, and we will have this on the very top. And there you can see. Some of my coworkers said yes. Some of them said no. So let's look at the next option. Our next option was I had to get a stem on it. And so I took this little piece of wood here that we had in a library. I continued to cut out my cardboard, but I cut out the center, kind of measured it and cut it out. Then you'll see a lot of hot glue to hold that in place. And then I took my paper bag, I cut it into three separate strips all the way to the end. I twisted it, and just like I twisted the fabric, I would glue that down. I started at the center and kept rolling it around, gluing sporadically. Now, to me, this looked very primitive, and so therefore, to make it a little bit more boho, I took what I call boho. I took the end of that, and just with some bright green acrylic paint, I painted the end. I also left a little bit of the bark outline there, so it kind of shows up a little bit differently. And this goes right down on top of my pumpkin. Let me pull that over a little bit and turn that to the side. This might be my favorite, even though it's still a little rustic. In this case, I might want to add to it a brightly colored piece of leather. Beads hanging down from it would look nice. I did cut out a felt leaf or two, so I could easily put those on there if I chose to. Perhaps some wire for vining. So this one is super easy to make. I am going to give you in your kit a paper bag, excuse me, that word totally left my mind. A paper bag, so that if you do find a piece of wood big enough. Now, not everybody's gonna have a piece of wood that big without cutting a limb off, of course. In my mind, if I went out and I found 3 or 4 smaller ones that gave me this diameter when they were put together, then I would twine or leather those together. And again, I would paint the ends of them, perhaps even different colors, some of the colors that I might find in the pumpkin here. So that's another option. And then my last option is a little bit more rustic. And in this case, I took the cardstock or the cardboard. I took the saucer of a very small terracotta pot. I took the wine corks and the moss. And I combined those to make the top. You do not have to put yours in this manner. You can leave the moss off. You could paint it. You could actually use, instead of the moss around here, you could easily wrap continually, as we saw with the orange one, until you got to the pot. You can wrap these together with pretty leather or ribbon. A wide ribbon would look nice as well. And so let me show you how this one looks and get your opinion. It is very different from the other two. So I have given you 3 options for the top of your boho pumpkin. Now, the last one was given to me as a suggestion by a patron, and I thought it may work, and you might be able to make it work. I have not had an opportunity to see if that would work on here or not, but I went to the Dollar Tree and was able to purchase some funnels. Now, the largest of the 3 funnels that came in here is just about big enough for the top of this. If I used one of the cardboard cutouts, you can see that it's going to fit right on there perfectly. The suggestion was perhaps to paint this. I would spray paint this, either a gold or a glossy silver, perhaps trying around here, maybe using some of your fabric again, or your newspaper or your brown paper. So you might be able to do this with the larger funnel. If you do and you like the way this looks, please post to our Facebook page so I can see how that turns out, because I did not get a chance to make another option for you guys. But they have all 3 shapes there. Okay, so that is it. This is our Chindi pumpkin. It is very different. Again, not to everyone's liking. Let's put our 3 tops on there and let you choose. And again, be creative with the top of it yourself. And there's our 3rd one. There is a kit available for this. If you're interested, please come by and pick those up. Kits are available Wednesday prior to our scheduled Make It Monday. So, thank you and keep crafting.